You're in Braves country.
Welcome in Braves country. I'm Mac Magee. We're going to get those lights off behind me. I do apologize. We're going to get into the 2024 prediction show here. Now, if you missed the first part, we did do the preview show. We kind of went through the entire roster and what to expect in the first part of the season. So if you haven't caught on to that, you can always go back and watch that. But right now, what we're doing today is we're doing the prediction show. We're going to go over some PECOTA rankings. We're going to do bets. I'm going to do predictions for all the divisions, wild cards, Cy Youngs, MVPs, you name it. And I'm not going to go straight homer and tell you that everything's going to be lollipops and gumdrops in the world of Braves country. Got to be realistic on these predictions. I've been pretty good, too, as far as we're going to give you the season-long bets. And last year, I gave you 4 season-long bets for the over-under and the wins. We hit 3 of them. Not too shabby. And then we continued to give you 10 player bets. We didn't do as many this year. We actually did more team bets. But we ended up hitting 7 of those. So pretty good. And we're going to do those here towards the end. I do want to start with, now this was members only, but what we're not telling folks until we get done with this, we're going to make it available to the public tonight. We're going to wait, but we're going to make the preview shows available to the public tonight because I know it's going to be busy the next few days. You're going to want to be able to catch it whenever you can. So, but if you want to catch these shows from the jump, a lot of them will be drops, some of them will be lives, members only, or how you're going to catch some of this. And it's literally 9 cents a day, $2.99 a month, and it helps support the channel. And we're going to try to do some big things for you. Just got out of a meeting, and we got some things on the horizon for the overall Braves country radio channel, and we hope you enjoy 2024. We really hope we have a fantastic 2024. There's a lot to celebrate, and I think there will be. All right. We're going to start with the American League and give you the Eastern Conference, or excuse me, the Eastern Divisions. Sorry, there's a football game on in the background that I can see out of my mind's eye, and had football on the brain. Eastern Conference, and I said Eastern Conference again. Eastern Division, the AL East, American League East, as it's more commonly known. And we are going to dive into, look, if you look at the PECOTA rankings, and I'm going to put the PECOTA on the screen here in 1 second. If you look at the PECOTA rankings and you see out the gate, now realize something, when we share these PECOTA rankings with you, they're updated daily, so they are up to the moment. But they are also usually, PECOTA is low on the expectation of the win total. Usually, not always, but as far as when you compare it against a bet. So, for instance, the Boston Red Sox on the PECOTA side of it right now are 78 wins. Now, their over-under is 80.5 on most books. Some books I've actually seen 79.5, but that's about where it's at. So don't get PECOTA confused with what the bet is in Vegas. They take a lot of things into consideration. And the Dakota projections are some of it, but it's not the Bible. It's not going to flat out tell you, all right, well, this is what we got going on. This is, you know, they don't look at, for instance, if you're looking at the screen right now and you see the Yankees with 92.7, they don't make the over-under necessarily 92.5 wins for the Yankees. In fact, the Yankees, I believe, is a little higher than that. But it is a good tool to go in and look at and you really do get an idea. You get an idea of how the rankings are figured out in Vegas and how that coincides with the Dakota rankings. Dakota rankings are strictly data driven. The ones out in Vegas, they will get manipulated if they think the number's just too low, if they think it's too high, if they think there's a lean that's going to allow teams to, or allow bettors to take advantage of things, they will drop it. Now, right now, let me see where we have the New York Yankees. And I'm going off of the Hard Rock bet. It looks like they pulled them off the board for whatever reason today. And that happens as well. But let's go to something else. What else do we have on the screen? Let's see, Toronto. Let's see if Toronto. Okay, Toronto, right now, their Dakota rankings is 87.9. So the computer thinks. And the Blue Jays are 86.5 over under. So if you believe wholeheartedly in what Dakota's telling you, you would take the over on the Blue Jays wins. And so you get the idea with that. Now, the way I tend to do this, I look at a lot of factors. I'm usually looking at your starting pitching. I'm looking at your bullpen, your offense, and then also there's intangibles that I play into this. But in the AL East, I'm going to start off with the New York Yankees winning the AL East, even though I'm a little concerned the fact that it started out with the fact that Garrett Cole, bare minimum, is probably going to miss 2 months. It could be 3. And that concerns you. But I believe that the depth is there at starting pitching. The bullpen is definitely there, and this offense should be much, much better. So I'm going to take the New York Yankees to win the AL East. I get it, Toronto. I get the Baltimore. Baltimore won, 100 games last year? It's 86.5 on Dakota. And if you go to the book, and the book actually has it a little higher than that. Book has them at 90.5. I don't feel strongly on that bet, but the point is, if I was going to go one way or the other, I would probably go with the under on the Orioles win total, because that's a huge ask. That is a huge ask for a young team to come in and not go through any kind of a slump. They didn't really go through a slump last year. And so that, and the fact that the Yankees are going to be better, I think the Rays are still going to be the Rays. The Rays Dakota rankings, by the way, are 87 wins. I don't love that. And if I could find a book that gives me as high as that, now the last one that I saw, what do we have here today? 84.5. That's where I've seen it all off season. 84.5 is a little too low. If I could find one that was anywhere close to that 87 range, I would take the under. I don't think Tampa Bay is going to have enough. They probably shouldn't get to 84 wins. But we all know the Tampa Bay Rays find a way to win when you can't name 3 guys on their roster. That's when the Tampa Bay Rays are the most dangerous. Give me the Yankees to win the East. Give me the Detroit Tigers. Now that's one of my sleeper picks. I like the Detroit Tigers to win the AL Central. And I know it's a long shot, but I'll tell you a couple of reasons why. And if you look at the Dakota rankings and you've got Minnesota projected for 90 wins, my main reason for not liking that number is this. I don't believe that Minnesota is going to win that many games. And if Minnesota is not going to win that many games, the wins have to go by default across the division. And if that's going to be the case, you look at what Detroit did last year. They fell apart at the end. There's no doubt about it. But they're a year older. I think Tarek Skubal is one of the best young pitchers in all of baseball. I like what they've done offensively, building inside out. And they've got guys like Kerry Carpenter. They've got guys who should take that next step. And offensively, the Tigers are going to be a fun team to watch. The big question is going to be, where's the pitching? I think they're going to be good enough to hang in. And Minnesota, they didn't add anything. They lost. They subtracted. They've made a couple of minor moves, but all in all, they don't have Sonny Gray, and I think that's a big, big factor. I don't believe Cleveland is going to be able to take a next step because I don't think they did anything to improve their offense. So give me the Detroit Tigers as an upset. I get it. If you wanted them to take the safe play, you would go with the Minnesota Twins. But I just feel like Minnesota has not done anything in this offseason to make themselves step out. And they didn't win that division by much. Detroit fell apart in the middle of August and just really, the wheels fell off. That's usually a part of the growing pains. You usually fall a little short your first year. There are so many great bats, young bats for that Detroit team. I like the starting pitching. My biggest question is going to be the depth of that bullpen and the depth in the starting pitching, because we know you can't just look at the 4 or 5 starters. You got to project out 10 to 12 deep throughout the season, and that'll be the big question. How much depth do they have? In the AL West, I'm going chalk again with this one, y'all. Give me the Houston Astros. Everybody's telling you, oh, this looks like a year where they're going to stumble. Oh, Texas is better. Oh, Seattle is better. Got to get them. Got to get on that Seattle hype train. I got to see it to believe it. Houston Astros are consistently one of the best franchises in all of baseball. Put the cheating aside from what is almost a decade ago. Put that aside. Just look at the fact that since that scandal, they've still consistently been one of the best players, one of the best teams in baseball. They're only what, 2 seasons removed from winning their last World Series. And I don't know if they're going to be able to go on a whole run at the end, but a lot of that has to do with not just who gets hot, but what moves do you make at the deadline. But give me the Houston Astros on a 162-game season where the Texas Rangers, I think there's going to be a real hangover effect. I really do. Not to mention the fact that the Rangers have lost so much pitching to start the season that it is going to be an absolute Band-Aid situation with that starting rotation until about midway through the season. And they might get buried so far that they can't climb out of it. And that's going to be a big factor to me. All right, the next one on the docket. Let's go ahead and give you the wild cards in the American League. Give me the Baltimore Orioles. Give me the Toronto Blue Jays, and I swore to myself I wasn't going to pick them anymore because the Blue Jays, they are like Lucy and Linus with the damn football. You always think that the Blue Jays are going to be this team, this squad. They're the American League version of the Padres. You see the roster. You think that there's going to be some real headway made with Toronto every year. That's why I don't necessarily buy the win total. But who else is going to get that wild card? If I tell you Baltimore's in there because the Yankees are going to win the division, and I know I'm taking a huge leap, and I could be wildly wrong with Detroit, but I like Detroit this year. I'm not backing down from it. and if Houston's in, you start looking around the American League. Well, who else is going to get in there? Because I don't believe Baltimore is going to win the division, but I do think that they're going to get the wild card. I don't think Tampa Bay is going to be able to hold it together. Boston is in a just complete crash and burn, and I'm just not willing to give a wild card to the AL Central until I see a higher win total come out of that division. So it means you got to go to the West outside of Toronto and Baltimore. And most folks are going to tell you it's the Texas Rangers. And I kind of have to say, hey, that Texas Rangers offense is going to be something. And you've got the hangover. It's a real hangover. And I get that. But I will put the Texas Rangers in there, but my dark horse in the American League will be the Seattle Mariners. I was so close to putting Seattle in, but that I didn't feel like you could call the Texas Rangers, who just won the World Series, a dark horse. So that's my logic behind it. I really don't believe in Texas this year because of the injuries to the pitching staff that won't get righted. As we're recording right now, Jordan Montgomery is not a Texas Ranger. And if he becomes a Texas Ranger, scratch what I said, then I wholeheartedly believe Texas can make the playoffs. But if they don't sign someone, and Michael Lorenzen ain't it, if they don't sign someone or get someone early in a trade, it's going to be a long road to hoe. I still believe that the Yankees are going to end up with Jordan Montgomery. I saw recently that they were talking again, but that's neither here nor there. Okay. National League. I'm going to take, obviously, in the East. I know this shocks nobody, but the Atlanta Braves are going to win it again. 7 years in a row. We're going to make it 7 in a row. I always want to be open-minded and say, hey, maybe you're just ate up with the Braves and you love this team, you know how good they are, and maybe, just maybe, they're not as good as you think they are. But you look at every other team in that division, the only team that even compares is the Philadelphia Phillies. And I don't think Philadelphia is good enough, top to bottom, in a 162-game season to run down the Braves. Can they get hot in a short 5-game series and knock them out? Obviously, we've seen it. But we're talking about two totally different situations. Two totally different situations between the playoffs and a 162-game grind. And with that being said, I don't see a scenario, even with rash injuries, I just don't see a scenario where the Braves won't be the best team in the division in 162 games. There's so much depth in that offense. There's so much depth in that bullpen. It's just stupid at this point. And the rotation, I know there's some question marks heading into October on who's going to be healthy because we've gone through that so many times. But you look at it right now. Strider, Fried, Sale, Morton, Lopez, but I think he'll end up in the bullpen. And then you have the guys that'll come up and absolutely, look, you're going to be able to pick from guys like A.J. Smith-Shawver, Bryce Elder, who was an all-star last year. I think there's a chance A.J. Smith-Shawver ends up in the Atlanta Braves rotation heading into October. Now, I know that's a far stretch, but I am a big AJ fan. But outside of that, throughout the year, Dylan Dodd, I think he's going to have a handful of important starts throughout the year. Darius Vines. So the point is, the pitching is a huge, huge area of depth, and it's by design. Now, you can't foresee, and the one thing that you can never foresee, obviously, is injuries, but also we've been fairly fortunate over the last several years to stay fairly healthy, but we have just gotten crippled with injuries at the worst possible time heading into October. But throughout the entire season, when you think about it, there's some teams that have gone through some bad injuries. And I don't like talking about it much because I feel like you jinx it. We've been fortunate. If that good fortune continues, Atlanta Braves win the East. And I do think that they get to 100 wins. The over-under right now is 101.5. If I was going to take the bet, I would definitely take the Braves on the over. But I don't take 102 games as a bet because, first of all, you're talking about playing elite baseball throughout the stretch. And also, you need the rest of the division to be playing pretty damn good baseball too, because if we have it locked down, what was it, September 13th that we clinched the division last year? If you lock it down that early, there's not a lot of motivation to hit that 102 plateau. But if they're being pushed, 103, 100, I mean, look, if you're asking me how many games I think they'll win this year, probably 105. But they have to be being pushed. If they take the foot off the gas pedal at the end, that's why I would never advise taking a big bet like that. Because the Dodgers are going to be, I want to say their over-under is 103.5. I would never take that. Not just a slump, not just an injury. Are you going to stay focused to win that many games? That's a big ask. All right, NL Central. This is another one. It's funny. I realized it after I did it. I took two surprise winners in the divisions. Ones that are both, by the way, are plus 375 on the money line to win the division. The NL Central is going to the Cincinnati Reds this year. They've got enough pitching depth. They definitely have a fantastic offense. This is the second year, much like Detroit, and even actually on a bigger level. I actually have more faith in the fact that the Cincinnati Reds will win the Central than I do the Detroit Tigers. Because we saw it. We saw it last year with Cincinnati. It wasn't until late August that Cincinnati started to fall off, and they were realistically in it towards the end. Even as poorly as they played down the stretch, the Reds weren't eliminated until the very, very end. Well, these kids are 1 year older and 1 year wiser, and I think they're going to get that division. Won't be easy. If you look at the division numbers right now, Pacoda has 84 for the Cardinals, which I think is wildly too high. 81.5 for the Cubs, 79 for Milwaukee, and 78.7 for Cincinnati. Cincinnati Reds, the big red machine, gonna bring home the championship. This has nothing to do with the fact that we're now starting a show called Reds Country Radio. We'll be coming to you a couple times a month. Me and Red Raider Doug are going to be talking some Cincinnati Reds and NL Central baseball. And we are bringing in Redsox Country Radio. The Sergeant Teamus Wooten of the U.S. Army, he is back. And back from his deployment, and he is ready to talk some Red Sox baseball. I'm not picking them to win anything this year. In fact, they're one of my best bets for the season. And most Red Sox fans aren't going to like what I have to say on that. All right. Dodgers are going to win the West. That doesn't shock anybody. My wild cards: Arizona, Philadelphia. That shocks nobody. But the Marlins won't be dancing this year. They're going to stay home. In fact, the Marlins are going to be worse than they were last year. So who do we go for that third wild card? Give me the San Francisco Giants. I was so close to actually going all three West teams. I think San Francisco is going to be very good. I think they're going to be underrated. Now, you'll notice on the Pacoda rankings, they actually have given them proper respect. They're being projected as second in the division at 85 wins. Arizona's at 83. San Diego's 81, and Colorado might be the worst team in baseball at 57. But Arizona, I do believe that with the additions, along with that good young nucleus, that team is going to cruise to second place probably. But San Francisco, they're going to be that team that you're not going to understand why, but at the All-Star break, they're going to be right up there with one of the best records in all of the National League. I just don't think they have enough depth to outlast the Dodgers for an entire season, but they get in the dance. You're going to have Blake Snell. You're going to have Webb. Remember, they also added Chapman into their infield. And they're a team that's going to score enough and pitch really well. The biggest question is going to be on a night in and night out basis, did you score enough runs to support that pitching? I think they'll get it done. MVP of the American League. I'm going Aaron Judge, Bregman, and Juan Soto. Those are my top three guys, with Judge taking it home. Keep an eye on Soto because he's in that market and he's new. My biggest concern with Judge, will he stay healthy? But Alex Bregman has been having a hell of a spring, and I do believe that Bregman could be on his way to MVP. I would love to pick Yordan Alvarez, but once again, the guy just doesn't stay healthy. MVP in the National League. Well, I wanted to pick Mookie Betts, and I think I probably should. And I wanted to pick Acuna, and I thought I would. But I'm going to take one off the board, one that's kind of off the beaten path. Because I think this man got robbed in 21 of the MVP. I think he rights the ship this year. Austin Riley brings it home. For him to do it, he's going to have to not just have great home run numbers and RBI numbers, but Austin Riley is going to have to not have those long gaps where he's in a funk, in a slump, whatever you want to call it. He's got to come out the gate hot and continue. It's hard for me to pick a guy to go back-to-back MVPs. But Acuna, whoever wins the MVP, you better do it fast. You better do it now, because unless there's something more to this Ohtani story that I'm not seeing, Shohei Ohtani is going to win the MVP next year in the National League. All right, the Cy Young, American League. By the way, Ellie De La Cruz gets by number 4. He's my dark horse. If he can get Cincinnati to a division title and have an incredible offensive season, Ellie De La Cruz could sneak in there. It's not likely, but I like him as a dark horse. Cy Young, American League. I'm going to go with Tarek Skubal. Skubal, Detroit Tigers. A lot of reason why I picked the Tigers. Kid is absolutely phenomenal if you haven't watched him pitch, and he's gained 2 miles an hour on his fastball this spring. Corbin Burns and Luis Castillo, they'll be in the mix too. I really like Corbin Burns to be able to do it, because Corbin Burns coming over to Baltimore, he's actually going to have an offense about him. Corbin Burns ought to win 20 games. But Skubal may absolutely shock everybody with his strikeouts. Cy Young in the National League. Third place, I'm going to put Zach Wheeler. And there's no one better in the playoffs at this point. Zach Wheeler is it. Max Fried is number 2 on my list. I think Max Fried's going to have a hell of a year. He's going to make a hell of a push. And we're going to have a lot of fun night in and night out comparing him and the 2024 Cy Young winner. Give me Spencer Strider. I don't think there's any question that Spencer Strider is going to be the guy this year. You've watched him pitch this spring. He has been like a machine. And you don't normally see that in the spring. Normally these guys who are already set, they go in the spring and play around with things. And, I mean, you'll see them get lit up. You're like, oh, what's wrong? And then opening day comes and you find out they were just working on a pitch or whatnot, working on location, not even worried about the actual results. Spencer Strider has blown people away this spring. In the Rookie of the Year, American League, give me Jackson Holiday. And I'm going to go Jackson to Jackson. The National League, Jackson Merrill. Jackson Merrill, the center fielder for the San Diego Padres. He is going to win the Rookie of the Year. Keep an eye on that third Jackson Churios. But I'm telling you right now, Merrill is going to be something special out in San Diego. All right, that takes us to the NLCS and the ALCS. NLCS, I'll go National League first. Dodgers, Braves. I wanted to pick another random team in there, but I think it's overdue to have a rematch, isn't it? Another rematch. Braves and Dodgers. Isn't the rest of the baseball world bored with the Philadelphia, San Diego? Let's get the real big boys in there. Let's see what Acuna and Shohei Ohtani can do head to head in the limelight. Let's get it. Baltimore and the Yankees in the AL. I don't know how they're going to set that up. But you're asking me who I think the two best teams will be in the end in the American League? Give me the Orioles. Give me the Yankees. I just feel like at some point, year after year after year, going through these playoffs, Houston is going to run out of gas, and they're not going to get to the ALCS. I got the Yankees beating Baltimore and the Braves beating the Dodgers. And your Atlanta Braves will win the 2024 World Series against the New York Yankees, and right or wrong, and we'll beat them in 6 or sweep. So either sweep them like they did us in 99, or we'll beat them in 6 like they did to us in 96. And oh, how sweet it will be to beat the New York Yankees in the World Series. That's what I'm pulling for. Yeah, it'd be cool to beat the Astros again. It'd be a fun series. I would have a lot of fun seeing Braves versus Orioles. Not going to lie, that would be an exciting clash of two young teams. But it's the brand, and I want to take down the Yankees. All right. We're going to the best bets of this portion of the show. And these are my bets for 2024. We're going to do them in this order. The San Francisco Giants, I'm going to take the over. Over 81.5 wins. I think the Giants are going to have a winning record. I think the Giants are going to make the wild card. I like their depth, and I like the fact that they're going to be able to beat up on the Colorado Rockies. I think they're better than San Diego. They're pretty even against Arizona, but they'll hold their own against the Dodgers. And they will compile those W's. Give me the Giants to win 82 or more. We talked about this earlier, but give me the Cincinnati Reds to beat Everyone in the National League Central on a plus 375. Give me the Reds plus 375 to win the Central. Give me the New York Mets to win less than 82.5 games. I'm taking the under. Not only do I not think that they're going to be that great of a team to begin with, and they'll have very difficult time being 500, but I also think they'll be selling at the deadline. So that's always going to affect your number. The only way the Mets hit this number, they're going to have to come out the gates fast. If they have a bad April, a bad May, it's over. And give me the under on the St. Louis Cardinals. I like the fact that they tried to go out and sign 3 right-handed starters that can eat innings. I get it. I just don't think they're that good of a baseball team right now. I think their literal cornerstones at the corners, third and first, Goldschmidt and Arenado, they're getting old. You look at the exit velo coming off the bat. It is slowed down. It doesn't get any better with age. And they're not going to be able to score enough runs on a consistent basis to keep themselves in the game. American League. Give me the Tigers plus 375. I know it's a little bit of a stretch, but on a plus 375, you don't put a full unit on there. Put like a quarter unit and see where it takes you. Minnesota, under 87.5 wins. I just don't think they're going to get there. Even if they win the damn division, I don't see them getting to 88 wins. If you can find 89.5, that would be great, as it is projected on Pacoda. But most of them have around the 87.5 win. Los Angeles Angels. Where are they projected on Pacoda? 73.6. No way, no how. That team is going to stink. 72.5 is the projection, and they will be selling at the deadline. Give me the under. The Red Sox, minus 80.5. Give me the under. The Red Sox aren't going to make the playoffs. They're not going to be a winning team. They're going to sell at the deadline. They're playing probably the best division in baseball. I think top to bottom, it is still the best. The NL West has an argument if Colorado wasn't so damn bad. But they play in the best division in baseball, and they have done nothing in the offseason except trade away Chris Sale, which hurts them off the jump. And then what else do they have going for them? They've got a few young pieces here and there, but that bullpen's going to be a disaster. And the other one, this is a fun one. This comes in at a plus 700. If you take these 4 teams to win the division, so if you throw like $25 down, you're going to win 175. And it's not that out of the realm that it's not that far-fetched or out of the realm of possibility. All 4 of these teams win the division, plus 700. Atlanta, the Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Astros. That's it. All 4 of them win it. The Yankees and Braves win the East, and the Dodgers and the Astros win the West as a parlay. Plus 700. What? You're welcome, America. Go out there and make your bets. We will see you opening day. I'll see you on the draft show on, we're doing a mini draft tomorrow, and then on Wednesday, assuming the guys can show. Regardless, I'll probably jump on there anyways for members only. But we'll see you then. Y'all have a great one. Opening day can't get any faster, and we're going to come on about an hour before pregame. We got some videos that are dropping and whatnot, some stuff to entertain you leading in, and we will come on for the pregame show about a half hour before the game. All right, y'all have a great one. it.